Now you're getting a chance to fight Figueiredo.
He fights with like some of this, you know? It's like you don't want to fight like a bitch, you know, like that's not fun. It's just like not fun, you know?
You got to start thinking like Chael Sonnen. You want to fight the easiest person for the biggest paycheck.
What a broken way to live, dude. What a broken way to live.
There's a big fight coming up. Merab taking on Sugar Sean O'Malley.
The guy almost has an entire hour to try to knock Merab out in his total amount of fight time.
You show up, you fuck somebody up. All right, guys, got to go home. We got to go mow the lawn. You're like me. That's how I was.
I'll tell you what, if I was making $100 million in the NBA or the NFL, I would not have a YouTube channel, but that's what we're doing.
Oh, it's 15-time world champion, Demetrious Johnson. You're listening to the MightyCast.
What's going on, guys? This episode on the MightyCast is sponsored by PrizePicks. Now, PrizePicks is a daily fantasy sports game we can play directly from your phone. It's very simple. All you gotta do is go to your app store and download PrizePicks. And when you do that, make sure you use my promo code MightyCast. Cool promotion going on right now. All you gotta do is play $5 in your lineup. We got the NBA playoffs, mixed martial arts, CSGO, Valorant, you name it, they got it. Make your picks. No matter what happens in those events, you're winning $50. Now, ladies and gentlemen, to make the game even more better when you watch it, NBA playoffs, make your picks at the right place, which is PrizePicks. Shout out to PrizePicks for a sponsored episode of the MightyCast. Now, let us get back to our guest, the Sandman, Cory Sandhagen. Okay, all right, here we go. My man, Cory. Welcome back to another episode of the MightyCast, ladies and gentlemen. I am joined by our guest, the Sandman, Cory Sandhagen. How you doing, brother?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good, man. It's been a while since we talked. Been a lot going on in mixed martial arts. You know, we're just talking before we jumped on here. And how do you feel the state of mixed martial arts is going right now in a whole? You know, some people say mixed martial arts is in recession. Some say it's booming. I'm a person who said it's booming. When you look at the casual fans, you know, me and Michael, we cover the sport as much as we can and the fights that we want to cover. But I feel that there's a market out there where the casuals, they have nothing to do every Saturday night. They come home, they're like, oh, babe, we want to do, you know, there's a mixed martial arts event on, we're going to watch it. How do you feel the state of mixed martial arts is right now as a whole from both sides? As a competitor, being, you know, ranked, you know, top 5 in the world to, you know, being at home watching it. What do you think?
Yeah, I guess good question. I mean, I think that the UFC is pretty much taken over everyone else now. Like, for the most part, I don't feel like I hear a lot from one other than a lot of like Muay Thai fights now, but I'm kind of a little bit off of my phone. So it's like I'm a person living in the cabins in the woods sometimes. So sometimes I might not be the best person to ask for questions like this, but I do think that UFC's kind of way that they go about the business sometimes is to like find a star, build up a star, and then capitalize on the star. And when there is no star to like capitalize on, I think that it can be a little bit tough to like maybe quote unquote get excited for fights. But I think that that's just kind of the nature of sports a little bit too. Like everyone likes their rivalries. I would say that that's kind of a comparable thing to a like a star or whatever, but yeah, I don't know. I just really like watching good fights. I like watching good fighters. I think that there's a lot of them in the UFC, and yeah, I don't know. I guess that's a good question. I don't really have an answer for you. What do you think?
You know, it's kind of hard. Me and Michael, we always balance this conversation off each other all the time, and I feel that, you know, when it comes to mixed martial arts, you know, UFC One Championship, PFL, all of them, I feel like we're in a period where I feel like man, like 2011 to 2017, maybe 2019, it was just peak mixed martial arts. You know, you had GSP, you had banger after banger cards, right? I can't go off the list and name her banger after banger, but I felt like there was a good stretch of like great cards where now it's kind of, you know, a lot of people forget that there's, you know, events going on. Just all around until one of the stars fight like Izzy or Ilia. I mean, you're fighting. I'm excited for that fight because you're taking on, Figueiredo, who was the former flyweight champ of the world. He moved up to 135. So I'm very excited to see that. I feel right now you're at that point where, you look at who's a champion at 135, which is Merab. You haven't fought Merab, and you also have not fought Sugar Sean O'Malley. So either way, if you get past Figgy, this kind of sets you up pretty well, because you haven't fought any of those guys. We'll talk about that later in the show. But when you look at it's a very interesting viewpoint, because you look at all the headlines. Pay-per-view numbers are down. The deal with ESPN is up, right? And I thought that Netflix was going to, absorb or make a purchase or a run at the UFC, but they're not really in the model of live events every Saturday or every month, one event. They're kind of after the big mega events like Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul or NFL on Christmas, stuff like that. So, pay-per-view numbers are low. You said it's very hard. There's not a lot of stars as there was back in 2011 to 2017. So, and it seems like they're having a hard time creating stars. So for me, I always felt that they're always going to be able to keep the lights on, because the UFC brand is so massive that if you have two, random guys fighting, people are going to tune in. For the casuals, but the hardcore fans, it's always going to be, a toss-up. Do they want to support the brand, or they want to see the upcoming fighters? So for me, I'm kind of on the fence, but I always tell Michael, I think that, the UFC is always going to keep on doing things, because the brand is just so massive and so big. And I always tell them that the UFC is so smart. They'll never let an athlete get bigger than the sport itself, because back in the day, you had Rich, Tim Sylvia, Matt Hughes, you had, some big figures who are bigger than the sport. You see them, hey, that's Rich Franklin. Hey, that's Tim Sylvia. Hey, that's Matt Hughes. Hey, that's GSP. And then you look at it now, when they see you, when they see me, they're like, every time somebody sees me, like, hey, you used to be a UFC fighter. I'm like, yes, I used to, but they don't recognize me as my name as, hey, you're Demetrious Johnson. There are guys out there who do, but the casuals, which I always tell people, casuals pay the bills. It's not, the hardcore fans. I always relate it to, if you own a gym, fighters don't pay the bills in the gym. It's your everyday mom and dad's kickboxing class, the kids class, what pays the bills. That's how I kind of equate it to hardcore fans, to casuals. Casuals pay the bills, and the brand is so big. So it's interesting, way to answer that question. But I feel that it's going to keep on growing, because the casuals are always looking for something to watch every Saturday, essentially.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, you sound like a historian when you're talking, dude. You go way, way back with all of this stuff, but I don't know as much probably as you do about it. But I mean, I kind of always been like a fighter, or actually just like kind of an athlete in general, that only really likes watching sports to try to learn from it. Like when I grew up, I played basketball a lot, like we've talked about before. And really the only reason that I ever watched basketball games and basketball players, I never really rooted for any team. I just kind of would watch the game so that I could better understand the game and how plays work and how people are playing and stuff. So I've always done the same thing with fighting, where, I don't really have fighters. I mean, I have fighters that I really like to watch, but they're always the people that I like to learn from the most, and who I think are doing like really interesting stuff in the sport. But yeah, I guess the hardcores do kind of really like exciting fights, but I think that the hardcores also, I guess, really tune in too to see who's the next upcoming guys. I also think that the sport's gotten a lot better, so it's really hard to like keep your undefeated record, and that's always like an exciting sell of people. And these really great guys that they spend a lot of time marketing sometimes lose just because people are really good now. I think that the sport's in a really good place as far as skills and all of that stuff goes. So, I mean, it's hard to go undefeated now.
Yeah, that's true. Speaking of undefeated, Umar Nurmagomedov just lost his O against Merab. Talk to me about that fight. I thought it was pretty damn good, back and forth. You fought Umar Nurmagomedov, and I felt you did a good job of, being on the feet and being not chaotic, but not being scared to engage. Obviously, Merab did a good job of engaging, but I feel Merab's wrestling is at a very, very high level. Your scrambling ability and trying to attack the submissions was a lot better than Merab, because I feel like you have that over Merab. But talk to me about what you think about that fight between Umar Nurmagomedov versus Merab.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that the fight was really good. I think that Merab kind of fights in a way, like Merab's striking is to wrestle. It's very like safe. He doesn't take a ton of risk in it, just because he's just not a super fast twitch guy, and he just doesn't have that's not his number one skill set, which is okay.
Yep.
But I mean, he definitely leaves a ton of space, and he uses his striking to stay safe and then wrestle, which is again okay. Especially with me, I thought that it was still a great fight, even though there wasn't a ton of trading in the center of the cage or anything like that, or really super significant moments on either one of them where either one of them got hurt big time. But I mean, that's just how Merab fights, and that's kind of the way that he does things. And then you have Umar on the other hand, who's really dynamic, who doesn't really press super hard. He kind of fights more on his back foot, and he likes to counter strike and stuff. So the fight was a lot more exciting than I honestly thought it was going to be. No offense to either one of them. I just thought that because Merab or Umar fights kind of on his back foot and likes to counter a lot, and Merab was, I don't think, going to want to strike with him as much as he did. I thought that they were just going to kind of move around a bunch and then wrestle a little bit, move around a bunch and wrestle. I thought it was going to be one of those, but it was a super entertaining fight. I think that Merab's cardio is obviously a big ass problem for everyone. and Umar did a good job combating that. But what can you do when, you fight someone that has kind of a super power, and the superpower pays off big time in 5-round fights. Merab's going to do good in a lot of 5-round fights. He's going to be really hard to beat with that conditioning.
I love you said that fucking superpower, never getting tired. And the biggest thing I love about that fight was who was going to win the wrestling exchange, who was going to win the scrambles, right? Because you are right, because when you look at Merab, he does use his striking to stay safe. You look when he fought Sean O'Malley, he uses the striking just to keep Sean at bay, and then once Sean starts to strike, he goes underneath him, takes it down. But obviously Umar has a way, way higher wrestling pedigree than Sean O'Malley. So for me, I was like, okay, I'm excited to see who's going to win the wrestling aspect of it, because whoever wins that is going to be the winner. But when you look at the data, it says that, Merab outstruck Umar Nurmagomedov, and it's just kind of crazy to see how he's able to use that superpowers, keeping himself safe with the strike, and then also using the wrestling to, dominate his opponents. And I wanted to get your thought, because you fought, you haven't fought Merab yet, but you fought Umar. So I was kind of curious what your take was going to be as if you fought Umar. How is somebody who's undefeated going to fight somebody who just seems like a wrecking machine when he gets in there?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I had Umar going into that fight. I thought that he was going to win. I mean, Umar's a really good fighter. He was much faster than what I thought he'd be. But I mean, all the credit to Umar, honestly, because it was kind of even though he lost, it was a really inspiring performance in the sense that I think he wrestled super good. Didn't once turn his back, wrestled Merab pretty straight up, and it got him tired as shit. But it also was really impressive in everything that he was doing. And then also, I thought that he was broken halfway through the third round, not broken in his spirit, but body couldn't go anymore, and your body has limitations, or at least some of us do, and maybe Merab's doesn't, but I mean, shit, dude, he showed up for that 5th round, and it was a close round in the beginning. He was still throwing, and I was like, God, how is this guy still punching and kicking? But and then about 90 seconds into it, Merab kind of took over and then stole the round. But I mean, yeah, it was a great fight. I mean, Umar is a super talented guy, and I think he's going to continue to do really well. And Merab's obviously a big ass problem that we all got to handle at some point, or at least I got to handle at some point. So, yeah, I'm really excited to, like you were saying before, Merab and O'Malley are fighting each other. They're going to have however that fight goes down, I think that if I go out and put on a really spectacular performance against Figueiredo, I definitely can be the next guy, which is actually super nice to kind of just have a little bit of timing and have a little luck kind of work out for me right now. We'll see if it kind of plays out, but I feel like I've gotten a little bit unlucky sometimes just in the past, just with the timing of injuries and the timing of like just stuff. I've also gotten lucky at the same time too. But this time I'm like, oh shit, if I go out and I like demolish Figueiredo, or if I go like beat Figueiredo by a mile or I knock him out or I submit him, I don't think it's way out of the realm of possibility that I'd be the next guy to fight for the belt, especially just considering I'm the only one that hasn't fought Merab yet in the top 5. And then also, I mean, the entire world wants to watch me and O'Malley fight. I don't think that there's too many more exciting fights that you can maybe make in the UFC. If we're going to talk about like hardcore fans and people wanting to tune in, I think that that's one that people are definitely going to want to see. So I think that it's really nice that timing and luck is kind of, I think, going to play out for me a little bit this time. And I go out, I kick Figgy's ass, then I think that I could definitely be the next guy.
What's going on, guys? This episode of the MightyCast is sponsored by Hemp. Now, Hemp is a top-of-the-line premium hemp company. It has products ranging from flower and also to gummies. Check the link in the description below to see if Hemp is a good choice for you. One of the things I love about Hemp is that it has products ranging from, like I said, the flower and the CBD gummies with THC as well. I love the flow state when I'm running around with the kids. Got to get tired to his football, Maverick to his football, Tanner to her dance. I pop one of these bad boys and it keeps me in that flow state mind. That way I don't skip a beat. Or if I'm trying to kick back, relax on a weekend, watch a movie with the wife, I'll take one of the elevated gummies to get your boy elevated and have the experience just be that much more exciting. So check out buyhemp.com/mighty. That's gonna help you save 15% on your complete order. Now, it will ship directly to your house. Got to check if you're 21 and over, and if you are, you're in luck, my friends. And obviously, if it is available in your state. Make sure you guys check out buyhemp.com/mighty. It's gonna help you save 50% on your complete order. Shout out to Hemp for sponsoring episode of MightyCast. Now, let us get back to our guest, the Sandman, Cory Sandhagen. It's funny you talk about timing, right? Because you're fighting May 3rd, and then a month later, 4 weeks later, you have, Sean O'Malley taking on Merab. And I think, I agree with you. When you look at the top, who's at the top right now, you have a fight, either of those guys. A fight between you and Sean O'Malley, the footwork and the movement and the angles is going to be straight peak. And then, if you get the opportunity to fight Merab, how you gonna do with that big ass gas tank, right? So I think it's exciting either way how the coin flips. But first I get past Figueiredo, obviously a very dangerous guy coming up from 125. He fought Peter Yan, came up short. You fought Peter Yan before. I mean, I feel like you fought everybody in the bantamweight division besides Merab and Sean O'Malley. But now you're getting a chance to fight Figueiredo. How are you looking at this matchup? I always thought that he was a very, very big 125er, and that's why I felt made a difference when he fought at 125, because he hit hard, he had a great grappling ability, and he also was big, and he could take a shot because he was bigger than most of the guys. I heard one time he walked to like 150, 155. I'm at 140. I'm at 146 this morning, and I'm retired from fighting. So what are your thoughts about him coming up to 135, fighting at 135, now I said 125, and how you're looking at this matchup with him?
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely tell that there's differences in the way that he's been fighting at 25 versus 35. He looks a lot less like a bully at 135 than he did at 125. At 125, I mean, just the size of the guy, how strong he was. He wrestled good. He has really long arms, and okay, like when you know that you're the bigger animal in the cage, it's a lot easier to just be like, all right, I'm just gonna walk you down, and if you grab me, like, fine, I'm bigger than you, I'm just gonna throw you.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously not that easy, but like when your skills are really good, it sometimes is that easy. So I don't think he's that big of a bully at 135. I think that he moves a lot. He's trying to wrestle people a little bit more than his past fights. And those have kind of been like the two biggest things that I've noticed when he's come up to 135. He's just not the bigger guy anymore. And I have a really big frame for 135, and I'm really curious to see what his kind of plan is around that, because I know that that's going to be a really big problem for him. I'm really big for the weight class too. I'm not like Patty Pimblett big for the weight class, but I'm pretty big, and so yeah, I mean, Figgy's definitely a tough, experienced guy, and he has like balls, like he fights with like some of this,
Mm-hmm.
Which is cool, because if you didn't, I mean, everyone at the top has that now, but that's just a nice thing to know that you're going against, because it'll bring out your best. Like, you don't want to fight like a bitch, you know, like that's not fun. It's just like not fun, you know. Like, you don't want to fight someone where it's just like, oh, dude, you're just gonna be a punk. Like, that's not cool, you know. And Figgy's definitely not a bitch. So yeah, I'm excited for it.
I don't know, my friend. You need to change your attitude. You got to start thinking like Chael Sonnen. You want to fight the easiest person for the biggest paycheck in the world, because you don't want the problems. No, I agree with you.
What a broken way to live, dude. What a broken way to live. That is such a broken way to live. You will never hear that come out of my mouth, and I will never let that thought go into my mind, just because that is just like the absolute antithesis of what I stand for and like what this sport should be, dude. And that is just like unreal. I'm like, sure, man, play it smart, but you also chose fighting. So you're obviously like not that smart. Don't try to play a stupid sport smart. Just show up and fight who they tell you to fight. You know what I mean? But not everyone would take that route, but that's kind of my dumb, honest route that I want to take in life, because I think it's going to make me the best me that I can be.
Well, I think, okay, there's two things. I don't want to veer off what we're talking about with Figgy. I'm going to jump back on what you just said there, because there's a lot of things. One of our good friends of the show, MMA Guru, brought up a great point about that. But let's talk about the Figgy fight. I agree with you, everything you said about Figgy. He isn't the biggest guy. I never forget when he fought Joseph Benavidez, and just the sheer power he hit Joe B with, you could just see like the size difference was just massive. Not him fighting at 135. You can see that he has to move more, be more strategic, use the grappling, use a little bit of wrestling, and go about getting the victories. I still think he hits hard at 135, but those guys, like you said, there's a bigger frame. They can absorb the punches a lot more. So it's not the same at 125. You know, how big do you get? You're like 6'2", 175. How tall are you?
I wish I was 6'2". I'm 5'11", and
damn.
I might be like a hair shorter than that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm like 5'11", and I'm like, if I'm like eating, there's like 3 sets of weights that we all have as fighters. There's like the I'm being a piece of shit weight, and then there's like a I'm training and eating good weight, but not really counting calories weight. And then there's like the in camp weight. In camp, I'm like 156, 157.
Oh my God. Oh God damn.
And then if I'm being, oh really? Oh shit. Well, if I'm being like a big piece of shit and just eating whatever I want and like not training, which is pretty much only like the week and a half after a fight until I get back into it, I'll hit like 63, 64-ish.
Wow. Cut all the way down. I always tell people, like, when you get to 163, 164, your body's still carrying, your frame still carries that weight, right? So Joe Rogan was talking about on his podcast that they should eliminate weight cutting. You know, if you walk around 165, that's obviously when you're being a piece of shit. So I'm sure when you're training, you walk around 155. So you carry a frame of a 155er, then you drop down to 135. So you lose 20 pounds, then you probably step in the octagon, probably 148, 150, I like to think, right? Or do you gain all your weight back?
About that. No. Like not all of it, but yeah, like I think the most I've seen was like 54 or 56 or something.
Yeah, so you're basically a 155er fighting at 135. It's just crazy, like when how much weight you put back on and how big do you get when you're being a POS, not training, where you still carry that same power and frame of that body. Does that make sense? Like, it's just crazy how much you're able to fluctuate between 135 all the way up to 160 when you're being a piece of shit.
Oh yeah, I love it. When I'm in the 160s, dude, I feel like I can like just bully people in training. I could just like, I'm like, oh, you're like, so just 5 pounds makes this much of a difference. It's, I love it. I wish I could be that weight, but yeah, I mean, weight cutting is just part of it. I guess it kind of like weeds out a lot of people that don't really want to like commit. Actually, I don't really know if that's true or not. I was gonna say maybe it weeds out some of the people that don't really want to work as hard, but just because weight cutting is working hard, you know what I mean? Yeah. But and it takes a lot of discipline and stuff, but yeah, you can't get around it. So what's anyone gonna do about it?
Yeah. Well, now I want to pivot what you just said. Like you said, the mindset is always fighting the best and taking the hardest route. You said that, and when you look at today's landscape in mixed martial arts, MMA guru who we talk all the time, and he said that you see a lot of guys not taking fights because they're waiting for a title shot, right? I think you have, Topuria, he says, I was promised a title shot. You have Charles Oliveira. He said he's not going to fight unless he gets a title shot. You have a lot of guys saying, I'm not fighting unless it's gold, right? And here you are, you're saying like, that's the wrong attitude to have. You fucking fight everybody, you just do it. Obviously, people are going to come at me like, oh, you should have fought TJ. Ladies and gentlemen, we already gone over that before. But for you, you're saying it doesn't matter. You fight whoever they put in front of me. I'm going to do it. I'm not taking the easy route. I want the hardest route to get to a world title shot. How do you, when you see other athletes saying like, I'm not fighting unless it's for gold, what's the thought process that goes in your mind when you hear that? Because you're the total opposite. You say, nah, man, you fucking fight everybody. It doesn't matter. It's going to make you the best version of yourself and prepare you to be a champion if you do become a champion.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that there's kind of a lot of layers to it, kind of. Well, one, I don't judge people for taking that route. Like, they're just valuing different things than what I value, and I can't just walk around thinking that my values are better than other people's, just because I don't like where that would really take me. But I think that I just value like the martial arts way, man, like the not sports way of doing stuff. Like, I think that I can kind of be a little bit of an existential, like, out there type of thinker in that, like, I think about God and I think about what that means. I think about what's important in life. I think about what happens to us after life. Like, what are we all doing here? I think about a lot of that stuff. And I think that, like, having just an accolade or having just a title isn't really enough for me. Like, that's not what I want to get out of this sport. What I'm trying to get out of this sport is to challenge myself. I'm trying to push myself to limits and like face fears that I never thought that I could handle, and just be brave in the face of a lot of adversity, and just like make my soul like an iron soul, and make myself an unshakable person. And that's kind of what I think is interesting. I don't really like other things. Like, I drive kind of a shitty Subaru. And I like, like, I don't really drive. I don't care how I look oftentimes. And I'm just kind of not interested in like the material stuff of life. That's kind of just the way that I've been a little bit. I was raised fairly religious, but I kind of have developed my own ideas around that. And if there is like this higher being, or there is this God, or our lives are super sacred things that we only get to live once, are we really trying to waste it on like trying to appear like we're really good at something? Like, I don't really even care about a legacy much, to be honest with you. I don't care about what my name means to the future. That's like not interesting to me anymore. What matters to me is that like I can make myself a super solid dude and make myself a super solid competitor, so that I can just like radiate that off of me in my life. And hopefully some people will catch wind of it that I'm around. And that's what I think is important.
What have you always thought that way when you jumped in mixed martial arts, or is this something new that you?
I wanted girls. I wanted to look cool.
Yeah.
I wanted titles, and but deep down, no. Deep down, I do think that is what I wanted the entire time. I think that I was a kid that was just looking for a meaning in life. I really dedicated myself to martial arts when I was 18 years old, when I lost one of my best friends in life. And I remember the feeling of, oh, so these things just end one day, and we're not in control of when these things end. And it's just ends like this, because that's exactly what happened to my buddy. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm not doing this whole game that people are playing anymore. Like, I'm just gonna chase this thing if it kills me, and that's just what I'm gonna do with my life. And I don't care about too many other things. I just want to achieve greatness, and not greatness because I want Cory Sandhagen to be a great name in the history books. I just want greatness just to say that I've mastered myself, and I mastered a craft that I really care about and love.
Gotcha. Because I feel like I'm talking to two different people. When I talked to you earlier, in the year, or not this year, but previous years, it was a different mindset to now. I feel like you live your life as a simple man, not that you didn't before, but I feel this is more, you're wearing this mindset and ideology on your on your shoulder, where it's like, I'm just here to be the best version of myself and see what I can achieve of mastering myself. I don't care about the title. I don't care if, you know, the Sandman is in the history book as one of the greatest 135ers to ever walk the planet Earth. You're just here to test yourself, and that's it. So you don't, I mean, I honestly feel you're not married to the outcome of your victories. You're always just trying to master yourself and be the best martial artist you can be.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that I'm also, I think that we're all kind of multifaceted too, and like the way that we are sometimes, you know, like there definitely is a person inside me that, especially when I fight, that isn't like an existential, like, let me use my soul to win this, you know, like that person doesn't exist in the cage. The person that exists in the cage is winning at all costs, and is willing to be super brutal in order to do so, or, you know, do whatever the fuck I got to do in order to do that. But that's just kind of like the different facets of all of us. And I think that maybe I just have a bunch of different ones, or maybe a lot of people are like this, and they just I have like a stupid level of self-awareness, which isn't like a good thing. Like, I don't say that in like a boastful way. It's like more of a curse than it is sometimes a blessing. But I'm like aware of all of the little voices that are happening inside of my head a lot. And I think that they're like, not any of them are really me, but I kind of just bounce around all of them, you know, like I'm a different guy when I'm training than when I'm with my wife. And, and yeah, so we're all like that, you know what I mean? And the state that I try to be in life is one that is of a high value, high character dude that like wants to just be good at something, and wants to master himself, and wants to master all of that stuff. But also at the same time, I am this guy who wants to win a world title, who is like willing to do whatever I need to do in order to win fights, within the rules, of course, and just be a guy that just be like that savage, you know what I mean? Like you understand, like sometimes you just gotta like be a nasty, gnarly guy that maybe does care about material things or whatever when you go into the cage, because that helps you win. But yeah, we're all multifaceted. I just think that it's really hard to sometimes do interviews because there are so many facets to you know, me as a competitor. I'm sure that we all as competitors have really just a lot of things, you know, like we have deeper parts of ourselves, and then we just have parts that just want to kill and make the other guy bloody. And that's just the way that it is.
Yeah, I was talking to one of the guys at my gym who just fought. He lost his fight, and he's 4-3 now. And his coach and I were talking. Me and his coach, we grew up together fighting. And I was like, "Damn, dog, I feel like you're so programmed. Like you got to get, you know, nasty. It's a fucking fist fight, right? Like, you know, we're like martial artists. We're like, no, you got to go out there and use martial arts to get the victory." I was like, "Nah, man, this is a fucking fist fight." And then my buddy said, Drew is his name. He goes, animalistic. You got to be an animal in there, right? You got to just fucking just pop and just hit them. And when you said like just be vicious out there, that kind of resonated with me, because we're literally just talking about that today. And I think to, you know, put more context on what you're saying is that we all have different hats that we wear, right? Like, okay, hey, I'm with my wife, I'm wearing this hat. I'm the husband. I'm going to cater to her, you know, her interests are my interests, our passion. We're going to share our passion together. We're at the gym. You're like, okay, I'm getting ready for this fight. When I'm in the cage, I'm going to do whatever I can to get this fat ass check and get this gold. You're at home. It was like, God, life is so easy. I'm breathing. I have this water. You appreciate things. And I also saw recently that you hired a brand coordinator, somebody to help you build your brand. I see you're starting to get into little skits. Yeah. Talk to me about that, right? Because I know I feel, you know, with you kind of remind me of myself when I was in the middle of my career. I didn't care about anything. All I cared about was showing up. I would fight. I will leave, go home, pressure wash my fence. I was very boring. I had no personality. I'm not saying you're in that same boat, but I feel like, you know, you kind of put yourself in that boat. That makes sense, right?
Yeah,
like
definitely.
you show up, you show up, you fuck somebody up. All right, guys, gotta go home. We gotta go fucking mow the lawn. I feel like you're like me. That's how I was. You know, everyone's like, oh man, we gonna do your bonus. I'm gonna go put it in the bank, go home and feed these babies. And then I see you're getting the skits. You hired a brand manager. Talk to me about this brand manager. Is he helping? Is he doing good? You feel good about him?
Yeah. Well, actually, I must be doing something right if that's the way that you used to be also. So that I guess that's reassuring. So no, so my videographer guy, the guy that runs my YouTube, his name is Elias, and he was like, "Hey, we doing vlogs for this camp." And I was like, "Dude, I do not want to do another round of vlogs. Like, I just don't have the personality for it, dude." I was like, "Dude, I get bored watching my own vlogs." I was like, "That's not a good sign. We're not doing vlogs anymore."
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, "Well, I think that we should do something." And I was like, "All right, I'm gonna write a bunch of really stupid skits, and we're gonna take them serious. And this is what we're gonna do for the vlogs." So yeah, so the vlogs are just like a bunch of my dumb, funny, I think that they're funny ideas of just what it is to be a fighter.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they were super fun to shoot, dude. Like, I've gotten a pretty good response from a lot of them. They're not doing like as good on views as I'd like, but I didn't really do them for a ton of views. I did them more so that fans could see a little bit more of a fun side of me instead of being all intense and shit, which is sometimes how I can really come across. So yeah, the skits were really fun. I think another one comes out tomorrow, and then another one next week, and then we're done with them. So, but yeah, they were fun. I don't know if you got to watch any of them. But
I did.
A couple of them were kind of funny. Some of them are like, "Dude, that was a miss," but some of them are kind of funny.
No, I liked it. I liked it when you were like, I just like to, and he was like, he all showed up in his suit. He goes, "Come on, man, you got to do this stuff." And I think it's great that you're doing that, because that's the hardest thing about our sport of mixed martial arts, is that you have a platform when you fight, right? And then once you're done fighting, you kind of, the spotlight goes on a different athlete, where you could bring your fans to show a different personality, because you are, every single time we've talked, I've always had I've never walked away from the conversation and goes, "Well, that guy's fucking boring." I've never felt that way. It's always good laughs. We talk, I get to know you a little bit more. You're a true martial artist. You're trying to figure out, okay, how do I get to this? How do you navigate that? And I think you showing a different side of you is only going to help your brand. It's going to help people get behind you more. And you just showing people that you're a likable guy, that, like, I think it's good that you're doing it. And I enjoyed the one where he showed up to your house and he was breaking it down. He goes, "All right, man, this is what we're going to do." And Michael enjoyed it too, because he sent it to me, and that's what put me down that path of like, oh, he's actually doing some vlogging. And you also break down fights before too. Like, I've seen you do stuff inside of the gym, and I think it's good. And yes, it does take a lot of effort to do it, but shit, why not?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's part of it now. And I'll tell you what, if I was making $100 million in the NBA or the NFL, I would not have a YouTube channel, but that's what we're doing.
Hey, you know what?
This is what the fuck we're doing. So,
hey, here's the thing. You start building a YouTube channel, then when you retire from fighting, you have something to work on. And here's the thing. What other hobbies do you have, Cory? What other hobbies?
I like riding. I like lazy hobbies. I used to be like super outdoorsy and shit, and then I kind of got a little older, and I was like, I'm not trying to climb that thing anymore, dude. Wake up at 2 a.m, so I have to drive to the mountains and do that. So I used to be like a pretty outdoorsy guy. I'll still go camping, and I still enjoy it every once in a while, but if the weather's not like perfect, I'm like not going hiking anymore.
Yep.
So I will. I like reading, and I like writing. I like coming up with ideas. Like, so for example, me and my family just recently decided, because me and my family weren't mega close growing up. We just weren't like a super tight bonded family. We were all kind of off doing our own thing. So now that we're a little bit older, we're like, hey, but we kind of want to be like more loving to each other. So we're trying to work on like a family game right now. And by we, I mean, I'm working on the family game, because my mom and sister aren't doing shit for the game. So I'm trying to work on this family game right now, which is fun. I just like coming up with a lot of ideas. It's just like creative ideas are really fun for me. So I'm working on that game. I'm going to start a gym here pretty soon. It's kind of difficult to find a gym space, but me and my wrestling coach are going to open up a gym out here in Colorado. So that'll probably keep me busy here. And maybe the next, I don't know when it'll open. We still don't have a spot, but so I got that going on. I like writing and reading. I'm trying to write a sci-fi comic book right now, which is like a couple of years in the making, but it's kind of coming along. Yeah, honestly, I think I'm just going to keep it a hobby. I'm not going to try to be super good at it because I don't want it to be ruined yet. And then maybe if I actually get good at it, I'll think about maybe doing something with it. But writing a sci-fi comic book, and then yeah, I like reading comic books, and I like reading just normal books too. So yeah, a bunch of my hobbies are just kind of living up here.
Okay, so let's talk about the sci-fi comic book you get coming on. What's this sci-fi? What's the name of it? What's it about?
Okay, I don't know the name of it yet, but okay. So it's kind of about the attempt in it is to try to understand like a organized version of a lot of the religions and understand like God. A lot of it is God and religion and like what God would be able to do if we were able to actually interact with it one-on-one. So pretty much the idea is that this scientist dude stumbles upon like this like hidden tribe that is protecting these like portals to like our universe's God that created everything, watches over us, and does all of like the God stuff that you learn in like church and other religions and stuff. And then so the scientist brings these portals to the world, and people are actually able to interact with God one-on-one. And then the idea behind it is what would that actually do to the world? Would it make it better, make it worse? And then there's also some like AI stuff where AI is kind of the like other side of what God is, to where it's like it's kind of like a rationality versus like a spirituality kind of thing going on there. So it's kind of long and it's really in depth. So without giving you like too bad of a pitch, that's what I'll
too bad of a pitch. Yeah. I don't think it's a bad pitch at all. I think it's fascinating that you have the creativity to put together a sci-fi comic book like that, right? I think that's something that it's a hobby, but I think there's a lot of people out there who'll be fascinated by your outlook on this story. What's the main character's name? Like, I love sci-fi. I love comic books. I read a little bit here and there, but I love sci-fi stuff. I love to hear different things, and that's why I wanted to hear about it. What's the main character's name?
Yeah, so it's kind of like Watchmen. I don't know if you've read Watchmen, but where there's like a number of kind of quote unquote main characters. But the main scientist dude, his name is James, and then the boy's name is Julian, and then like Julian and his mom kind of have like a thing. So a mom is a character, and then the president Chris is also a character, and then the bad guy, he's another character too. So yeah, I mean, it's fun, dude. It's really fun. I'm like a super unathletic blue belt at the entire thing. So that's kind of where I am in my skills with it, but it's just fun. I don't know. I just enjoy kind of organizing a bunch of quirky ideas, because I just come up with a lot of really dumb ideas all day. And this is kind of a compilation of all of my really dumb ideas.
And where do you draw inspiration for the story and your characters, right? Like, have you heard of the Armory Wars by Cody and Camaria? Have you read that one?
Nope.
You know, where do you draw inspiration from to write this story that you're working on right now?
A lot of it comes from stress, honestly, where I'll try to be creative where I'm the most stressed out, and it seems to work. This woman, Martha Beck, who writes a lot of really good books, she suggested that in one of her self-help books. And ever since then, I kind of been rocking with that. Anytime I feel stressed, I just try to, write something creative or do something creative. And yeah, so that will be helpful. Where do I get the inspiration for this? I think it's just an interest in God. It's just an interest in religion. I've always been fascinated by religion and like how people will kill each other and be really brutal to each other in the name of like a God was a super fascinating thing for me to like think about growing up. And also just thinking about what right and wrong is. Like, am I following the right thing? Am I going to burn in hell? Am I going to go to heaven? What's going to go? Dude, when you grow up religious, I don't know if you grew up religious, but 90% of staying in the church is just because you don't want to burn in hell, dude. Like that's what's at stake for eternity.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, I got to figure out if this is true or not, because I'm really not trying to have that happen. So yeah, just kind of an interest in that big time my entire life. And yeah, I think that it makes my life a little richer. And I think that it just makes things a little bit more profound throughout the day, which is a really nice feeling, because it doesn't make you feel like you're just walking through this weird mechanical TV show that we're all kind of living in. And it just makes life feel better when I do it, I guess.
Yeah. Well, two things. One, we call it the rat race, that you wake up, eat breakfast, go to work, come home, eat, hang out, go to bed, wake up, do it all over again. Like the rat race. That's what my buddy call it. I think it's just the monotony of life, right? And I didn't grow up religious. I grew up, I do know majority of the Bible stories. And it's funny you said that, because my wife, we have 3 kids, 11, 10, and 6 years old. And we're starting to introduce them into, religion, Jesus, God. And they're watching the stories. My mother-in-law just took the kids to go watch King of Kings, which is basically a religious movie. It basically tells you, the story about God and Jesus. And my wife, she goes, I didn't know all these stories. And I was like, oh yeah, I knew these stories, growing up. My mom made me watch them. The 7 Commandments, Noah's Ark, all that stuff. And she goes, how can you watch all these stories, but you never, shown to be a very religious man? I'm like, well, I feel like my relationship with God is between me and him. I don't have to go to church to pray. I don't have to do this. I grew up like you do right as you want to be done to yourself, right? And so for me, when you said like people just go to church just to stand there so they'll get burned, I just lost my shit, because a lot of people I grew up around, that was their mindset. Right? It's like, I just go to church so I can go to heaven, essentially, instead of like, no, I'm here because I truly want to pray the word of God and follow through what I believe in. So I think it's fascinating that you write, and I hope one day that you kind of go more in depth on your YouTube channel and like say, hey guys, like, this is what I'm thinking about this story, and basically like do like a Mr. Sandman reading time. I'm gonna let you guys know what I'm thinking about, because I think it's a different hat that you wear that I find it fascinating, and I think a lot of your fans will find it fascinating as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, when it's a little bit more done, like I said, I'm at writing, dude. Like I was reading and writing, I was taken to a different room when we were learning all that stuff as a kid. So I don't have like a natural talent in it. I was like, why I got to be in this room? Why am I reading different books than these people? And no one was like, because you're dumb. No one said that to me. So I don't have like a natural ability in it at all. I kind of just really fell in love with reading in the last few years, and I kind of wanted to just take a crack at trying to write. And but yeah, like I said, man, I'm like a really unathletic blue belt in the whole thing. So like imagine like a 300-pound, never played sports, but like has been training for a year, and their coach just gave him like a blue belt. That's like how good I feel I am at it. So I got a long ways to go.
I'm sure you're putting sentences together. You got a thesis. You got you got a body of work. I think you're not giving yourself enough credit, right? I'm sure if I was to pick up what you've wrote so far, I'm sure I would enjoy it, and and I'm sure I could understand where the story is going.
I hope so. I don't know. I'll send it to you first. You'll be the first one that gets the first draft.
Bet. I'm gonna hold you to that too. I'm gonna hold you to it.
All right.
Okay, now let's switch gears. There's a big fight coming up. Merab taking on Sugar Sean O'Malley. What do you think about this fight? Obviously, a lot of people weren't happy when Sean O'Malley got the title shot, because typically, when you lose a fight, you get an immediate title shot. It's like, okay, well, people are getting title shots off losses, right? Where there's, I don't know, maybe you can answer this. Do you think there could have been other options for Merab to fight instead of having a rematch with Sean O'Malley?
Honestly, I think that's why O'Malley's getting it, like, really. I think that the whole, like, O'Malley definitely is a star, and he brings a lot of eyes to the sport, so you definitely have to, like, weigh that in as a factor. But also at the same time, man, like, there really isn't anyone else. Umar just fought Merab. Jan Jan's last win was against Figueiredo, but before that wasn't doing super stellar, you know, has already lost to Merab too in a pretty one-sided fight. And then I'm coming off of a loss also. So there really isn't anyone else other than kind of O'Malley. And yeah, so I'm not going to hate on O'Malley too much for getting the title shot. I think that it's a little bit more than like the star Dana White privilege thing. I don't think it's that as much as people are saying. I think that there's literally just kind of no one else that is more interesting. And good on O'Malley. He got some luck there, and good for him. So, but the fight wise though, I mean, I think for the most part, O'Malley's real shot at winning this thing is a puncher's chance, kind of. Like, Merab is going to take O'Malley down a number of times in this next fight. Like, O'Malley's ability to get up was really bad in his first fight with Merab. Like, he was doing steps that he could have there's just better ways to stand up than the ways that he was going about doing it. And hopefully he does those things better, or else he's just, damn, Marley, hey. Or he's just going to be just, I got a big Rottweiler, so he's
That's okay. That's okay. You're like, hey, shut that goddamn dog up.
I know, jeez. But Marley, stop, for real. I'm doing something important. But yeah, so I think O'Malley is going to get taken down a lot. Hopefully he learned how to stand up a lot better, because getting taken down is going to happen. When you're like a long, lanky guy, it's really hard to stop people from getting underneath you.
Yep.
So it's not as much about defending the shot as much as it's about, hey, can I get up immediately? And if Sean does that a lot better, he'll I think do a lot better in the next fight. Sean's not really a point guy, so, I mean, he's not just going to score a bunch of nips and picks from the outside and then try to win that way. O'Malley's like I try to put your lights out type of guy. And I think that if he just continues to try to put Merab's lights out, I think that that's just going to weigh against him. I think that he needs to really control the pace of the fight and the scoring piece of the stand-up, so that if he does get taken down and he cuts hands and gets back up, he can start to engage and just be, you know, do a lot better in that way. On Merab's end, I think Merab has to do the same shit and just do the exact same thing that he did and don't get knocked out. But I think that the fight's pretty interesting again, because I think, one, O'Malley is really fired up. Like, I know what it feels like to actually lose your first fight, and it sucks and it will fire you up. So I think that that's going to be a really big component in this. And I also think that if we're talking puncher's chance wins, O'Malley gets 25 more minutes to try to find a shot to knock Merab out. And that's a lot more than the first 25 minutes. So the guy almost has an entire hour to try to knock Merab out in his total amount of fight time. You know, like, if he can't do it in an hour, then I said, don't ever let him fight again.
I fucking love that. You got an hour to knock this man out. You've already spent 25 of it. You get another 25 to get it done. And I love that take, because he does have that puncher's chance, right? Like, in the last fight, you know, he did have a hip issue, which he really didn't disclose a lot about the hip issue. That once he got done with that fight, he got his hip taken care of, and now he's doing a lot more wrestling. You see in his camp, he's done way more wrestling or jiu-jitsu than he did in a lot of his camps. And I agree with you, he is going to get taken down by Merab. So here's the question: do you embrace the takedown and force the fight, or do you try to use that 25 minutes to set up that perfect sniper shot?
Yeah, good question. I think, without saying too much, just because I do think that I'll fight Merab one day.
Yeah.
I don't think the answer to beating Merab is a ton of footwork and keeping space. I think that O'Malley's a lot longer. Like, Umar tried it and O'Malley tried it the first time. Like, move your feet, keep a bunch of distance, and do it that way. That's like a way to do it. But when a guy has a massive gas tank that's just that of which is like a superhero, I think that you set your space, and when Merab gets close to you, you hit that fool. And, you know, like, that sounds like really simple and maybe not the most technical way. Stop. Or the most technical way. God, he's annoying. Or the most technical way. I do think that that's like a way to combat the conditioning piece. And I don't even think that he has to bring it to Merab. I think that he just has to really just try to counter him, but not counter in like a movie, like reset 1,000 times way. I think he just has to stand there, defend the shots as best he can, and just when Merab gets close to him, just hit him.
I love that.
Maybe. I don't know. I hope that he does it so that then I can have a little bit of like numbers on whether or not that works, so I can adjust my strategy when I fight Merab.
Well, you and Sean have two different styles of fighting, where I think you embrace the chaos, you force the fight, to where Sean likes to use his footwork a lot more to keep himself at a distance where he can land that strike. Meaning that, like, if you will go for a takedown, I don't think I've ever seen Sean O'Malley shoot a double leg once in the octagon. Where I've seen you shoot, I've seen you do, somebody get your back, you're doing a Grammy roll, you're not trying to break the hips, you can't break the hands. Like, you're more embracing the whole, Sean goes to a party, he's only going to sip, vodka. Where you go there and you're sipping vodka, you're drinking tequila, you try some of the whiskey, you're doing a little bit of everything. And it's not that and that's not that it gets him. That's what I always say to people, is that a lot of people tend to go a certain way about their fights, which is fine, where I think you're more open to see how the fight goes, where we know he likes to stand on the feet and look for that sniper shot. So I think you're kind of spot on. And it sets you, like I said before, you get past Figgy, it sets you up really good for your opportunity. The stars are aligned that if you're able to get past Figueiredo, you're healthy enough, and whatever happens in that main event, I think it propels you right to the opportunity to be able to get the chance to fight either Sean or Merab. So I'm excited for your opportunity, and I'm also excited for that fight as well to see how things are going to play out.
Yeah, me too, man. I just got to go out there and kick Figgy's freaking ass, and then I think I can do it, But I know that I definitely need to have a really impressive performance and hopefully a stoppage, even though, Figgy's definitely not going to be the easiest guy to finish. That's what I'm going to be hunting for the entire time. That's what I've been training for the last 12 weeks, is to get this finish, to break Figgy and make it one of the most impressive performances that you just can't deny me a title shot afterwards. So that's where the bar is for me. And I do believe that I can clear it. This has been a really good camp. Me, Trevor, my coaches, everyone is like clicking on a different level. And I think that I'm going to really, really crush it, man. And I can't wait.
I can't wait either. Before we let you go, I have a question for you. I'm going to read some to you, and I want to know your first, what your thoughts are, okay? This is from Errol Hawani, not directed towards you, but it says, we know this is cynical, but if we are all being honest, there are factors at play here that mixed martial arts is in a recession. Do you think MMA is in a recession right now in 2025?
No, I don't think it's in a recession. I think that it's just hard to keep stars and have stars. And one, they only come around once in a blue moon. And then two, the guys are just a lot better now. So a guy can be a star and have everything going for him, but when you lose a lot of that. And that's just kind of the nature of the sport right now, is, like, what football team just dominates year after year after year after year? That doesn't happen anymore, just because all of the other football teams are really good, and no, I don't think it's in a recession. I just don't. Go ahead.
Yeah, but that doesn't make the NFL in a recession, right? Like, you have the Kansas City Chiefs, they keep on winning, but now, they didn't win the Super Bowl. Eagles won the Super Bowl, but NFL is still something that people still crave. So I wonder if, when Errol Hawani says this, do we look at it as a point that numbers are down, or there's just nothing else to watch, right? Like, and I agree with you. Like, when it comes to the stars, they only come once in a round, right? Like, there hasn't been another GSP. There hasn't been another, Brock Lesnar. The list just goes on. But does the stars generate the pay-per-view? Obviously, they do generate the pay-per-view. Like when he says a recession, I always think about a recession is a mindset, right? And
yeah,
I would have to get more context, but I wanted to, like I said earlier in the show, I asked you the same question, but it just came out again from Errol Hawani, and I'm going to ask you the second time, like, are we in a recession again?
Well, I mean, if he's gonna call MMA in a recession because the numbers aren't doing good, then yeah, I guess so for sure. But I don't really know. Like that's I think the definition of it. But I think that the numbers are probably low because it gets people outside of the scope of even casuals. People that haven't even heard of MMA or watch MMA at all, I'm sure still know who Conor McGregor is.
Yeah.
And that's just Conor McGregor being a huge superstar that just pulls more and more people into the sport. And yeah, of course we don't have any of those, I don't think right now. We have some that are close to it, but none that really like transcend things as far as Conor McGregor. So maybe what we had a Conor McGregor stock spike, and then now things are kind of leveling out a little bit and being a little bit more realistic. And maybe it's less of a recession, but it's more of things are just getting back to being a little bit more flat just because Conor spiked everything so much. So, but I mean, I still get really excited about a lot of the fights. I still think that there's a lot of really good fighters out there, and yeah, but there isn't any really like super particular person to be super pumped about right now, but that can change in an instant too. So we'll see what happens. I'm really curious to see how Ilia Topuria does in his future. I really want to watch him and Islam fight, to be honest.
How do you think that fight go? How do you think that fight plays out, Islam versus Ilia Topuria? If they were to fight, because obviously we know Islam wants to go to 170 and he wants to fight for the 170-pound belt, while Ilia Topuria is at 155. And as I sit back, at first I was like, you know what? I think Ilia Topuria should fight somebody to earn the title shot. But then after listening to all his interviews and the things he said, and the UFC promised him a title shot, I was like, okay, give him a title shot. But then I look at Islam's part, and I'm like, Islam's fought two smaller guys. He's beat Volkanovski when Volkanovski was a champion. He beat him, and then he knocked him out. And that did nothing for his stock. It did absolutely nothing for him. So if he was to come up and beat Ilia Topuria, he's like, I just beat another smaller champion. That's all I did. Whereas if he goes up, and then don't get me wrong, there's a huge risk there. There's a huge risk for Ilia Topuria to beat Islam. But if Ilia beats Islam, I think it's a lose-lose situation for Islam, right? Because if he beats Ilia Topuria, it's like, okay, I just beat another smaller champion who's coming up to try to be in a division. Or if I lose him, I lost to a smaller guy. But if he beats, there's that. But if he goes up and fights at 170, and if he's able to beat Jack Della, if Jack Della gets past Bilal Muhammad, then I think there's a little more of a storyline for this. So that's why I could kind of see Islam being in reserve. But let's say Ilia goes out there and just fucking just murks a contender like Charles Oliveira or Armin, then it's like, okay, he's a real deal. I would love to fight. You know what I mean? So how do you think that fight will play out?
Yeah, but do you see how complex it becomes when you start talking like legacy and clout? It's just like, so Islam doesn't gain any clout for beating Ilia. It's like, dude, I guess if you like living in that like complex of a way of thinking, that's okay. But also, if you lose, you lose. Yeah. Like, you weren't better than him. Who cares? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you're no one's gonna give a shit about, I don't think, any of us in 15 years if we're lucky. So you're like, this legacy that you're trying to create isn't gonna last that long. Like, it's not gonna last into the history books as much as you think it is. Maybe it matters to you. Maybe it really matters to you that you took the right fights, you eliminated like risk, you didn't want to do this. Like, there's other things that maybe you're genuinely interested in doing, like going up to 170 or whatever, but there's also just the like, dude, if the fans want to see it, just do it, and if you're better than the guy, you'll win. And if you're not better than the guy, you'll lose. Yeah. And, like anything outside of that, it's hard. It's really hard. Maybe I'm a dumbass, but it's really hard for me to wrap my head around why the other things are super important to people, like I think I don't know.
I think for you, I think I think it'll give yourself enough credit, because when you look in the history books of some of the most amazing knockouts or the most amazing knockouts where people walk off, you're in there, right? Like when they show knockouts of the knockout you did against Frankie Edgar, or the fight you had with TJ Dillashaw and how the fuck did you didn't win that fight? I mean, those are stuff that's going to be written in history books. And you look, like you said, 15 years from now, I think people are still going to look back on that like, holy shit, that was a badass fight. Holy shit, look at that flying knee that Cory hit on Figueiredo and walked off. Like, those are all things that are cemented in your legacy, whether you want to believe it or not, right? And so...
No, I think that you're right about that. That's something that I sometimes forget. So thanks for pointing that out. Is that what we are actually doing is that we are inspiring people, and I think that that's important.
Yeah.
And I think that and being like a great figure and having a bunch of great accolades and doing a lot of that stuff is a cool and inspiring thing. And I do think that that will trickle into like the world being a better place and all of that stuff. So I do agree with you in that. If we view it from that point of view, my question would be is how many of the guys are actually genuinely doing it for like a altruistic, like better view than like, oh, I want to say that I'm undefeated. I want to go in the history books because that matters to me. Like, that would, I guess, be where I get a little bit confused and just like, where is the motivation to not take on the toughest challenges and make the biggest risks? Like, where, like, what's the motivation behind not doing that?
Yeah.
I guess would be my question, but you do have a good point.
Yeah. I think two points to that. I want to also say one more thing. For the risk, if let's say he does fight Ilia, right, and he loses, he will miss out on an opportunity to fight at 170. But if he just waits, I want to see what happens between Bilal Muhammad and Jack Della. And let's say Jack Della starts, murks Bilal Muhammad, then it opens the door for him because, you look at 170, you do have Shavkat, you do have, Joaquin Buckley, you do have some guys there, but I think he's going to get the opportunity to just be able to go there, right? He's built up to this point where it's like, this is what I want. I want this opportunity. Obviously, he could relinquish his belt like Ilia Topuria did to go to 170 and fight in that division and get there, but it's a faster way to that title fight, and it's a bigger money fight. And that's what I feel like for that. And the second thing I want to bring up too, we talk about your story. You never did any form of mixed martial arts up until you're 18 when you realized you were going to make it the NBA, right? And that is also very powerful because that's the same thing like my story. I wrestled in high school, but I didn't start doing any martial arts training until I was 18. So people could look at, you can go in the history books as, okay, look at this guy who's been very successful, 5'11", never did any form of mixed martial arts whatsoever. And look what he's been able to accomplish. And he's top 5 in the world in 2025, when it's the most competitive part of mixed martial arts. You know what I mean? So you've already set yourself in the history books when you look at that, because in today's age, when you have, when you and your wife do have children, my children, I'm around all the other dads, is like they're all playing football at like 5 or 6 years old, and they want them to be the best football player, basketball player, and it's like, that's not always the recipe to be great at a sport. It's just let your kid be an athlete and let them have fun. And then when they turn 18, and they're like, well, give me a different reference. Boom, look at Cory Sandhagen. He hasn't won a title yet, but he's still on the grind, but he hasn't done any form of mixed martial arts. And he started when he was 18, and he was a very athlete. He played basketball, et cetera, et cetera. So, baby, I'm just writing your legacy right now, Cory. That's all I'm doing, baby. I'm just giving you flowers on flowers on flowers.
Hey, I like it. But yeah, I think that it makes sense if the point is to inspire. Mm-hmm. But I think that my idea of like the route that I want to take, there's two things that really, really matter to me. I really want to be a world champion, and I really want to inspire a lot of people. And I want to do that through fighting. I don't really want to be like a character or like a personality. Like, I don't really give a shit about a lot of that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that shit. I don't want to do that. I don't want to inspire people by like my personality or my ideas.
Yeah.
I want to inspire people by the actions that I do. And to me, that doesn't mean like being a 10-time world champion or whatever. I mean, like, that would be great if that's written in my story. Then fuck yeah, I'm definitely aiming for that. But what I want to be my story is that, like, I took on, like, the challenges. I didn't really play the game of like figuring out how to do this in the best way that's going to set up my life. I want to just do this in a way where it's like, yeah, man, like, who they told me to fight, I fought, and I was brave enough to do so, and I was better than some people, and I wasn't better than other people, and I wasn't ever afraid to lose, and I always went out to fight with the entirety of me, and for me to win, and that's what I did every single time, and that's what's inspiring to me. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's different for everyone. Those have always been the athletes that have attracted me the most. When I was growing up watching basketball, it was like underdog type of players, you know? And those were just the types of guys that I really liked. I liked guys that talked about how disciplined they were. I didn't really like the crazy characters that would, you know, drink and smoke and party and do all of that stuff. Those types of athletes weren't ever attractive to me. So I think I'm just trying to be the example to, like, me probably like 20 years ago. And that person, the titles and stuff aren't that important to, like, 20 years ago me. What's important is just rising up and being brave and, you know, facing all that stuff and doing it genuinely and not, like, making excuses and cutting corners and shit.
I love it. I love it, Cory. My man, Cory, I don't want to take too much of your time. This is your opportunity to let the fans know where they can find you, how they can, you know, support you, look out for your fight. The floor is yours, brother. Let them know where they can, you know, watch these beautiful skits. It's all you, man.
Yeah, I'm on YouTube, Cory Sandhagen MMA. I'm on Instagram, Cory Sandhagen MMA. I don't use Twitter. And yeah, just watch my fights. That's kind of what I care about the most. And if you like them, keep watching them. And yeah.
Well, boys, that is my man Cory the Sandman Sandhagen. Make sure you check out his fights. He takes on FIGGY at UFC Fight Night May 3rd. I'm super excited about it because I believe if he wins this fight, he's going to be the next person fighting for a world title against the winner of Merab taking on Sugar Sean O'Malley. I am your host, Demetrious Johnson. That is our guest, Cory. We'll see you guys in the next episode of the MightyCast. Peace.
Peace.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Mighty Recap, and this is part of the episode where we recap everything we just went through with our guest, and our guest was Cory the Sandman Sandhagen. I always truly enjoy talking to him because you find out more, you know, more things about, you know, Cory. He's a gentleman who's very multifaceted. He always talks about that, and you know, it was kind of interesting. Like, my favorite part of the talk was when he was talking about, you know, his beliefs and who cares, all the material things, right? Like, you want to go through your mixed martial arts career fighting the baddest guys, whoever they tell me to fight here and there. And that's not necessarily the case for everybody. I can even say myself. You know, when it came to any 125er in the division, I fought every single one of them. The only fight that there was any kind of pushback was when I was about to fight TJ Dillashaw, obviously because I wanted $1 million each time. Not each time. I wanted $1 million to have a super fight. And that was a materialistic thing. And he wasn't a 125er. There was other stuff in the contract that we wanted, but it never came to fruition. But, you know, it is what it is. But when you look at Cory, you look at, you know, the conundrum we have right now with Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev, where Islam's like, you know, I want to fight 170. I don't want to fight another smaller gentleman. I've already done it before, but who knows? At the time of filming this, you know, Ilia Topuria just said that camp has you know, begun. So it'll be kind of interesting who he fights. And for him, you look at what it's setting up for himself. He's getting an opportunity to potentially fight either Merab or Sean O'Malley, which of those two guys he has not fought yet. And I like his stance going in because if he was to fight Sugar Sean O'Malley, I feel that it's going to be a fight on the feet. I do see Cory, you know, potentially taking the fight to the ground because we know that's one a chink in Sean O'Malley's armor about taking him to the ground. We saw Merab do it. We saw Chito Vera stand on the feet with Sugar Sean O'Malley, but that didn't fare very well. But obviously Chito Vera and Cory have two separate skill set on the feet. And then if you look at the matchup between Merab versus Cory Sandhagen, how does Cory deal with that fucking machine of Merab with that cardio, that gas thing is such a hard thing to deal with, especially in a 5-round fight, which will favor more Merab because Merab has done it time and time again, not just to Sean O'Malley, but to the best of the best in the 135-pound division. Jose Aldo, I mean, the list just goes on. Henry Cejudo, and he also has his right-hand man, Aljamain Sterling, in his back pocket, who's also another phenomenal 135er. And when we're talking about the recession, I want to play this for you guys, and I want to also react to it because I got text message from the producer. If you guys are wondering where Michael is busy editing the training arc. If you guys haven't checked out the death sentence training arc, make sure you do yourself a favor, watch episode 1, and we got more coming up. Only 3 episodes, but it's absolutely amazing to film it, and he's editing right now. So that's why he's not here on this Mighty Recap or this MightyCast. But let's listen to this real quick from Ariel Wani, another friend of the show. So let me listen to this. I'm going to react to it.
That was in a recession. MMA is in a really tough spot. There is no number 2. Lord knows there's no number 3, certainly not here in North America. And to your point, the UFC, they'll have their big shows once a month, a pay-per-view, typically top heavy. The last one was good. The next one is top heavy. Their Super Bowl show, their big one of the year, usually happens end of June, early July. That's International Fight Week. It's April 22nd right now. They have yet to announce a main event because they don't have a main event. John Jones isn't signing up for the Aspinall fight as of right this moment. They don't know what they're going to do with Ilia Topuria, who's their other big star coming out of Spain and Georgia. It's not a great time. Conor McGregor has shown no interest in coming back, and so people could say whatever they want. They're about to score a massive rights deal in the States, as you probably know. But in terms of like a high watermark for the sport, an apex moment for the sport, we are not in that moment right now.
Is it a lack of stars? Like, this just happened, I think.
And I kind of agree with them, but when you look at the landscape of mixed martial arts, and let's compare it to other sports, right? I think that's always good. Mixed martial arts is the one sport that there's no season off, meaning, NFL, when it's NFL season, it is peak. Everybody's loving it. Everybody's watching it every Sunday, every Thursday, every Monday. It's a fucking banger night because we're going to see that leather skin be pushed across 100 yards either this way or that way, right? You look at the NBA, you look at March Madness, it is a season. And then people who out there who love baseball, it is a season. So you always have this climax from the start of the season to the end of the season. It's always peak because we get that season. When you look at mixed martial arts, it is a 365-day year sport that's always going. So to keep that peak the whole entire time, it's too hard. Just like Cory Sandhagen said, we don't have enough stars. There's not enough stars to keep that peak the whole entire time. You have John Jones. I think this might be his last fight if he ever decides to fight Tom Aspinall, which I believe he will. And then you also have Tom Aspinall. He wants to fight, but he's waiting for whatever the UFC wants to do. Conor McGregor is not going to be around anymore. He has so much going on. He's trying to angle a fight with Michael Chandler from last time I just checked. Who else do we have? Izzy Adesanya. He's on a 3-fight losing streak. He might be coming back to fight. They say he's going to be fighting Sean Strickland. Ilia Topuria, Islam Makhachev. We don't know what's going on with there. So I can understand that, but we also got to be, in a realization that it's all the time. You're going to have your ups and down. You can also equate it to the Marvel movies, right? When they came out with Avengers, the Avengers 1 with Loki and, introducing the whole thing. Then it was a huge climax. You get to Avengers Endgame, the Infinity War, and then it gets to the Endgame, right? Peak. Ever since those 2 movies have come out, the Marvel movies have been straight, not even, nobody's getting hard. Nobody has a chub, anything whatsoever. And then now it's starting to pick back up. We have the Thunderbolts coming out. It's always going to go through these ebbs and flow of a constant sport that's always going. There's no off time. But imagine this. Would you guys rather see this? Would you guys rather say, hey, you know what? 6 months out of the year, there's going to be banger fucking fights. Banger after banger after banger after banger, right? And the next 6 months of the year, no fights whatsoever. Or 3 months or 4 months out of the year, banger fights. Back to back every single weekend. Monday, Thursday, Friday, banger fights. And the rest of the year, nothing. Would you guys prefer that? Or how do you solve this problem? right? You try to build more stars. It's kind of hard to build stars when you don't want the stars to be bigger than the brand itself. Meaning, like, you look at WWE, Undertaker doesn't own Mark doesn't own the rights to Undertaker. WWE does. So Mark isn't the star. Undertaker is. Does that make sense? So does UFC actually take time to build stars in the sport of mixed martial arts, or do they just keep doing their thing and let things go on and keep doing the Apex shows, UFC Fight Nights, and the big stuff? I don't know. It's kind of interesting. Let's listen to the rest of this and see what these guys have to say.
Well, I think this is cyclical. You know, people talk about it in British boxing at the moment. You know, all these guys are getting old. Yeah, well, guess what? The new guys that are coming through, that are 5-0, 8-0, 10-0, 12, they are the future, and they'll get there. But you know, sometimes there's just that lull.
Yep.
It is 100% cyclical. You're 100% right, and you're someone who knows about this. I also feel like there's a bit of a McDonaldization of the promotion, where they have gotten so popular that it all starts to feel a little rinse repeat.
Yep.
They do these shows at the Apex, which I think has taken the soul away from the events. They're doing like 10 or so a year, hopefully less next year. And there was once a time where Dana White would say our shows would never be like boxing events, top heavy, 1 or 2 big fights and nothing underneath. And anyone who tells you otherwise, that they are not doing that right now, is simply lying. They're very top heavy, and then the rest are relatively...
I mean, once again, I agree with Eddie Hearn. That's another gentleman who is bringing it down. It is cyclical, right? It's a cycle that I'm 38. I'm not fighting anymore. John Jones is 37 years old. He's maybe got 1 or 2 more fights left in him. You have the newer generation coming in, like Ilia Topuria, Paddy Pimblett, some other young and coming guys, Shavkat, a lot of guys who are coming up who are still, Joaquin Buckley. I mean, the list just goes on. Merab, he's still young. Who are coming up, who are becoming new stars, and the older are phasing out. It's almost the same time when Anderson Silva, GSP, Luke Rockhold, Matt Hughes, Andre Arlovski in his heyday. A lot of those guys who were there, they were the top premium name that you wanted to watch. But as they older, they phase out of the sport, and there's supposed to be fresh new athletes coming in. And maybe the thing is that maybe the mixed martial arts landscape is so competitive that there hasn't been any fresh blood, and it's so competitive and so hard to have so many consecutive wins in this sport. Maybe that's the reason why there's not a lot of stars. So I don't know. Very interesting. Do you guys think mixed martial arts is in a recession? Let me know in the comments down below, and let me know what you guys thought about this episode of the MightyCast and this talk with Cory Sandhagen. So make sure you guys check out his fight as he takes on Figueiredo at UFC Fight Night May 3rd in Iowa. It's kind of cool. They're getting away from the Apex shows. They typically do very well when they do the live events at different places around the world. So let me know what you guys think. And what was your favorite part of the episode? I am your host, Demetrious Johnson. I was our guest. Cory Sandhagen. Mike Arwan's over the right-hand man. He's busy editing some training arc. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure you like, subscribe, and also hit the bell to go live. We will see you guys at the next episode of the MightyCast.